Okay. Let me go to the group. There we go. Okay, good morning, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. So here we are again for Release Trapped Emotions Live in the Emotional Money Mastery group. And today we want to focus on talking about shame. Before we have clients come in, I want to really talk about the emotion of shame. What is shame? What is it vibrating at? What's its frequency? What does it contribute to in our lives? And how can we actually work with it, heal it, overcome it, make peace with it so that we don't let it rule our life, we don't let it rule our relationships, we don't let it rule our business and the money we make and the results that we achieve. So shame is actually the lowest level of all emotions. In fact, let me share a screen. I was actually just sharing the screen with Sergia here, who's listening in. So if you see on this screen, shame is at the bottom, 20. It's a frequency of 20. Flow is up here between 400 and 540. This is where you're in flow state. Flow state is the state in which you basically manifest effortlessly, where you set your intention, you take your actions, and you manifest. The reason is because you've shed, you have raised your level of consciousness, level by level by level, arrived at this frequency, raise your frequency, raise your emotional vibration, and arrive to a place where nothing from your past is really hindering you anymore. Any of the emotional baggage that you've been carrying from your childhood, your young adulthood, your adulthood is no longer tagging you, is no longer ruling your life. And so when we talk about shame and we see that it's all the way down there at the bottom at 20, one could say, okay, wait a minute, that's a lot of work to get out of there. Yeah. I mean, if we think about what happens at shame. So shame is the emotion that takes you out, right? It's the emotion that has you feel so unworthy that you don't feel worthy of anything. You don't feel worthy of love. You don't feel worthy of abundance. You don't feel worthy of health. You don't feel worthy of a peaceful environment, of a clean environment, of good friendships, good relationships. You don't feel worthy of existing. In fact, shame is the number one emotion that contributes to suicide. And that's the reason, is because you feel literally not worthy of living. And so when we have shame as a trigger, as a driver in our business, guess what that means? It means we don't feel that we are worthy of success. We feel that we're not worthy of the money, the income that we want to generate. We don't feel that we're worthy of the acknowledgement that we feel that we deserve. Maybe we don't feel that we're worthy of the sales volume that we want, right? So when we look at shame as it relates into our business, it's really looking at how are we leading our business? How are we showing up for our business? Am I showing up as fully committed, or am I saying I'm committed, but if the conditions are right, I'm not. I don't follow through. If it's too hard, I procrastinate. If it's too complicated, I let it go. Like where does shame where does it come in when we talk about us leading our business, and how is it affecting the results? So most entrepreneurs experience one of these things: self-doubt, or sometimes even multiple. So self-doubt, procrastination, starting and stopping, right? They experience inconsistent income, right? 1 month it's feast, next month is famine, right? 1 month you're on a roll, you're getting clients, the next month, where are they coming from, right? So when we're experiencing these kind of roadblocks, these obstacles in our business, they have an emotional start. They have an emotional birth. And so thinking about shame, where has shame shown up in your business? How is shame, how is shame, sorry, I'm getting a earthquake alert on my phone. So if all of a sudden you see me disappear under the table, that means we're having an earthquake. So how is shame showing up in your life, right? Like, where are you feeling not worthy? Really think about it. Because a lot of times we're just punching in and punching out in our life and in our business. And when we're punching in and punching out, we're not really focusing through intention and conscious awareness on the steps and the actions that we're taking to achieve the results that we want. And so when we're not there, we're allowing emotions to drive us, whether it's shame, whether it's fear, whether it's failure, whether it's anger, whether it's frustration, whether it's overwhelm, right? Whether it's self-doubt. So where in your business do you think you have shame as a driver? I can tell you my experience. I'll share my experience in the past when I was really deep into working on myself, and diving deep into all sorts of modalities. You know what I was doing it. Tapping, emotion code, neurolinguistic programming, meditation, sound baths, hypnosis. I mean, I just was so curious, but more than curious, I was so intentional, so committed to getting out of the feeling of inadequacy, the feeling of shame, and the feeling of feeling less than. That's really how I felt when I first started on my entrepreneurship journey. I felt that I really wasn't worthy. And so it was really difficult for me to create momentum for my business because in the back of my consciousness, these tapes of unworthiness were running, these tapes of inadequacies were running, right? And so I wasn't necessarily aware of it at the time. Looking back, once I did the inner work, once I raised my consciousness, once I became conscious, I could look back and say, oh, that's where I was and what was happening to me. That's what was the driver underneath. Now, obviously, through the work, I understood what were the emotional births, right? The negative emotional events that birthed, right? They birthed the sense of inadequacy and the sense of shame that I had. But there were many, whether in my young childhood, in my relationship with my father, whether then in my relationship with my peers, where, I was really shy. Nobody that meets me now really thinks that I could have ever been shy, but I was actually a really shy little girl. Kind of always kept quiet, kept to myself. So I was invisible, right? I just blended with the wall. I was invisible. I was just observing. But in those instances, I felt that I wanted interaction. I wanted to be considered, but I wasn't because I was keeping myself out because I was feeling so scared of putting myself out there, right? So once I understood all of these things that were contributing to what I was creating in my life, and specifically was once I understood that it was shame and inadequacy and feeling inferior, I was able, and I understood where the root cause was, I was able to reprogram the conversations that I made up about myself, right? So, conversations like, I'm unlucky. I'm not the one that gets picked. Nobody considers me. I don't have value. Everybody else has value. I don't, right? And a lot of the conversations that I heard growing up contributed to that. Just the things that my parents were saying to each other that I was a witness of really contributed to that. But without going into all of that, it's like, where is your driver? Like, where is it coming from? Ask yourself that. Once you see how shame is contributing to um your business in a way of maybe you're not going for the sale when you're on a sales conversation, person brings up an obstacle, a challenge, a consideration. Maybe they don't have the money. Maybe they have to talk to their husband or their wife. Maybe they say they don't have time. Maybe, you know, they're just bringing something up, but you just take it at face value and you give up. So you're not leading the sale. There is an emotional block when people do that, right? Maybe you feel uh, uncomfortable in putting yourself out there, doing videos, doing promotion, doing self-promotion. I was actually just talking with Sergia, who was listening in, and she's just left. We were just talking about that, right? It's like, um, how is it that somebody can really put themselves out there and feel confident and feel um, empowered, right? To step into that next better feeling place, right? It's it's an inside job and it starts from the inside out, right? And so it's taking a look at what am I telling myself? What am I meant to see that I'm not seeing? It's an internal conversation. So shame, because it's an emotion that has us feel inadequate, has us feel unworthy, how can we how can we make peace with that? What could be an emotional ninja block to take us out of shame? Well, number one, most likely, if you're in business and you're not locked in a room somewhere, totally depressed, shame hasn't taken over your life yet. So that's a good sign. So if you're in business and you're working in your business, but you see that you've got this starting and stopping and this self-questioning and this doubting and this feeling unsure, most likely shame and unworthiness is part of one of the drivers. So, but it's not all of the driver, meaning that it's not fully ruling your life. Only part of yourself feels that, not the whole of you. And what does that mean? That only a part of you from your past that's connected to your past is feeling it, right? The other parts of you might be empowered in some areas, might feel hopeful in other areas, might feel really optimistic in other areas, right? So we really want to look at that part of you that feels the emotion of shame. So when we are able to look at that and we're able to look at, okay, only a part of me is experiencing shame. Only a part of me feels unworthy. Only a part of me feels inadequate, feels not up to par. So the other parts, right? Maybe I can use the other parts to help me empower that part, right? And so the emotional ninja hack for shame is to bring love and compassion to that part of you. And it could be a part that's maybe your inner child, right? It could be a part of your inner child that really just needs love and compassion, that needs to be held, that needs to be told, it's going to be okay. You're okay. Look at what we've accomplished, right? So it's your adult self and your more empowered self and your more evolved self that's talking to your inner child to make her or him feel safe and feel okay, right? So then the emotional ninja hack is just practice compassion to yourself. Stop doing all of the self beat up, right? Stop beating yourself up. Stop telling yourself how you're not capable, how something cannot happen for you, how you can't something, how something is not going to happen for yourself, right? So bringing love and compassion to that part allows you to slowly kind of dissipate that shameful feeling and step into a more grounded sense of self. Now, you might say, okay, so now I have started to make peace with my shame. I'm bringing more love and compassion. Then what? Right? What is going to happen? So at that point, then you want to look for the next better feeling place. So once you've brought love and compassion to that part of yourself that feels the emotion of shame, and you've kind of introspected it a little bit. So you've talked to yourself, like, what is this about? What is underneath this? What am I meant to see that I'm not seeing? And you've kind of understood, right? Maybe what the shame is about. Then you start looking for things and ways to feel good. Because really, in reality, what we're meant to do is we're meant to feel good. So you look for that next better feeling place. And what is that? That could be, okay, in the moment, I'm acknowledging that I'm feeling that I'm not capable of doing something, I'm not capable of achieving. Let me take a walk outside. Let me listen to an inspiring podcast. Let me pick up a good book. Let me do a meditation. Let me call up my coach, right? It's looking for ways to feel better than what you are feeling in the moment. So it's literally moment to moment to moment, searching for that next better feeling place. So now what is going to make me feel better? And now what's going to make me feel better? And now what's going to make me feel better, right? It's doing it moment to moment to moment until you can really feel in your heart space that feeling of inadequacy, that feeling of unworthiness has left, and that you're fully and consciously, through intention, have stepped into a more empowered place. That is really how we can work with shame. We can work with the feeling of not feeling good enough. And look, no human being on this planet escapes this feeling. We are all bound to be there at some point. Some of us more, right? Some of us less, but we all kind of go through the rite of passage of feeling shame and feeling unworthy and feeling, that we're not up to par. And so once we can take ourselves through this process, the process of bringing love and compassion, the process of looking for that next better feeling place, we will be able to not allow shame to drive us. So not allow it to not take the appropriate actions that we need to take in business. And I tell you, a lot of the clients that I work with unconsciously are not focusing on the actions that they need to take in their business because there's this sense of questioning. There's this sense of there's this sense of insecurity, right? Insecurity always stems from a sense of shame, right? So the question to ponder is how am I going to work with shame and dissolve it so that I can be more empowered in my business and in my life and in my relationships. So if you have any questions about shame, please put them in the comments